come up as we continue to talk about the workflow. And then Triangle Services owns us. We're a division of them. They're about a $150 million company. Just to give you a quick snapshot of what we do, so data processing, document composition, and then one of the big things is document decomposition, right? Using a lot of the Crawford tools and technology, full programming, web development, document design, and engineering services. Because again, in today's world, document processing is an engineering art. We web and mobile delivery, electronic document delivery. We probably deliver more documents electronically today than via physical paper. Archiving, digital print, mailing, all automated mailing, intelligent inserting, finishing, and bindery. So that's the last I'll talk about the services we do. And then we do this in this enterprise, right? So we have two co-located data centers, as well as a cloud processing environment, all supporting 3 processing centers, one in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Moonachie, New Jersey, and Congress, New York. They're all SOC 2 and HIPAA high-tech certified, as well as GDPR. So why did we need a workflow, and what brought us to this need to take all of this information and stream it in? The biggest driving factor that we had back in 2014, we made an investment in our first high-speed roll-to-roll inkjet system. And what this did is this really dramatically increased the volume of materials that we could generate, the paper that we could generate. So lo and behold, I think I always refer to Jaws that we needed a bigger boat. Well, we needed a bigger inserting platform. So this drove to bigger inserters, more facilities, our second inkjet system. So the entire inkjet investment, the initial inkjet investment, really has driven us to have this workflow defined and well-tuned between the different facilities. We needed to see what was going on in these facilities, what was being done, how was it being done, what capacity did we have, how could we load balance, and how could we build contingency across our enterprise? As in today's world, if we have to move things, how can we move them seamlessly so our customers were not impacted? Our reconciliation process was manual. We spent a lot of time. We broke files down. So if we received 100,000 piece mailing, we would be breaking that down into smaller segments. And then each reconciliation point throughout the process just added more time and angst and clerical work in getting that to balance. We brought on a customer that really wanted us to drive to a Six Sigma standard of quality and worked with us and pushed us in that environment. How could we reduce the risk in the work that we were providing, eliminate those errors, and provide a better product? Interestingly enough, on this item, once we started this process, it was a rejection. And why do we have to do it? Today, it's an adoption. So we've really absorbed this and live and drive towards this standard and this entire philosophy of Six Sigma. Standardizing our processing and operating procedures, well, that's an interesting situation. So we tell our customers that we'll adopt their workflow. Over time, we had adopted many, many different procedures based on all of that marketing message that we'll bring it in and adopt what you do. And so now we had all of these instructions. Cataloging job parameters, right? Removing the operator level dependencies. We had, over time, again, developed hundreds of printer setup tickets, inserting operating modes. So this had grown our entire enterprise out quite large. On top of that, as it grew in multiple facilities, we started with 2 and went to 3. We had different things going on in different facilities. So these are the challenges, right? The 30 years of how do we take all of those applications without opening up the can on each one of them? How do we integrate new technology and a better workflow into our scenario without having to go back and undo all of the programming that had been working and running for many years? We had spent a lot of time in developing a system called Opals, which was our internal ERP system. This was custom built to us. This controlled all of our processing inventory, or order processing, inventory, postage, and billing. And this was tied into our accounting systems. We clearly didn't want to throw this away and start over again. Tribal knowledge, that many years, as I had mentioned, of this is how we do things on this particular application, specific to different operators, shifts, machines, and so on. We had many years ago adopted Canon's Prisma print management solution. How could we bring that to along with us? Because we had built with eForms, we were injecting color into documents and eliminating mastheads and things of this nature. How could we take that with us and not lose all of the technology and intellectual property that had been built into that platform? One of the big items was our Opal system was allowing us to capture the metrics, but they were being manually entered by operators and or managers. There was errors. There was not consistency in the data being captured. So more often than not, when we were running certain reports to evaluate where we were spending more time in analyzing the mistakes that we had captured versus really getting to the core data and giving us the answers that we needed to make the right decisions. As I mentioned earlier, and I'll continue to mention throughout this entire process, this extensive set of print and insert setups, what were we going to do with it? How are we going to streamline this thing and bring this back in alignment? I mean, at this point, to the point where jobs were being changed and setups were being changed to adjust for position of 2D barcodes, so 3 of 9 barcodes. Instead of going back up and binding it in the application, this was being done at an operator/machine level. So this created greater angst in our process when we started to review it. And I guess the biggest one the biggest challenge is the answer that's because that's the way we do it. Not a lot to go behind that, but that was the statement that we lived with. So we sat down and we had gone and we spent a lot of time reviewing all the various different options, what was available in the market, and how could we bring this together in provide a solution that would sit on top of our enterprise, leverage the assets, leverage all the intellect that we had developed over time, and bring this to bear. So we chose the ProConductor system, which also integrated Bluecrest Insight system, as well as Canon's Prisma print system, tying that together with our Opal's system. We were able to do all of this. We exchanged data between the various different systems via API exchange. And we were able to catalog all of that information and put that into Opal. So we were able to go out to all of those printer setups and modes and consolidate them, bring them down into some commonness, and then put all of that instruction and take all that information, that intellectual property that had been stored out on the machines or on the different servers that the machines utilized, and put that into a central database or repository so that now that was stored centrally. This is an entire component-based system, so we're taking what we believe is best of breed and tying it together and feeding it up through this ProConductor system that allows us to control the entire event through its dashboard across the 3 facilities. So this was the solution, which then brought us to this is the plan of how we were to get there. This is the workflow that we started to develop. So as you can, going from, and I hope you can see this, going is a lot of boxes. By the way, I cut this down significantly. We receive our data or our information, we process it, and then we have 3 ways of feeding this into our system, which I think is important, and this is the flexibility that this system through ProConductor has driven for us. One is ingestion 1, which allows us to generate our print file and MRDF through our processing, whether we're using our Quadient systems or our Crawford tools for breaking down incoming print. We're generating that in our programming team, and we're feeding that into ProConductor to be digested and then fed out to the systems. The second method, which ingestion 2, which was really built to handle the legacy-based work. So here, which really separated this product from other products in the market space, we were able to take in those print files from those legacy applications without going back upstream and changing all those programs and read the information out of the print file that would allow us to generate the enhanced 3 of 9 or 2D barcode, generate that MRDF file, that insight it needed to control the inserting systems, and then feed that back into ProConductor. So this was a tremendous value. So it's stopping a lot of development time and probably short-circuiting our deployment of this by years, not by days or months. And then finally, the last was, okay, if we just have print, how do we print? And we created the third method which just ingests the print file. All of this information flows into ProConductor, and it grabs that catalog from Opals. So the Opals is telling it now what are the order operations that were developed from our estimator. In our review process, we found we had maybe estimated this job to run in the continuous environment, but over time, operators had decided to switch to a cut sheet environment. So the actual estimate was truly not being followed from a manufacturing perspective. So now what we did is we went back, we said, okay, let's grab how this thing should run, and let's thread that into our process. Grab the inventory stock items so we know where they are and how many we're using. Additionally, we're tagging those by the facility, so we're grabbing the processing site as well. We picked up what ticket, so we standardized our Prisma print tickets, and we cataloged that as well. So we grabbed that ProConductor, grabbed that information from Opals, in addition to our inserting mode and bin alignment. So all of that information that was being stored at the operator's head for all intensive purposes when that application hit the machine was now being gathered by ProConductor by communicating with Opals and being fed down into our manufacturing control systems, including the expected metrics. So what do we expect to run? Because that would come back to help us at the end when we do the reconciliation. We feed those MRDF files, whether it's coming out of our systems, our processing platforms, or it's being generated by ProConductor, fed out to the Insight server based on the processing site that's pushed out to the one of the three facilities, whether it's New Jersey, New York, or Florida. So it's ready for that job. The ticket is picked up and attached to the job. It's processed and input. Additionally, if there are any finishing conditions such as perfing, dynamic perfing, all of that technology is applied at this point. Job is spooled. Additionally, here, Grand Prism is grabbing the processing site, and it's saying, okay, I'm going to shoot this to, it's scheduled to run in Congress, New York. One added feature that we did so that we could move work back and forth through that ProConductor dashboard, we can take that job, if we had queued it to New York, we can queue it to Florida. ProConductor checks to make sure that that stock material is in that location. We'll take all of those items, we'll remove it from the let's call it Florida facility, and then pick it up and transport it over to the Fort Lauderdale facility seamlessly within minutes. Job is released by the operator, clearly by just pick clues. The printer has already been chosen for him of what's going to run on it. He does have the ability, if we have a battery of the same printers, to release it to the one that's free. The Insight station is loaded with all the MRDF, the bins. The entire job is lit up. Job is inserted. Additionally, at this point, we created the reprint cycle. We have two options. One, we have a touch and toss type environment, so we do high volume work. Excuse me, that we may have reprints in the hundreds, or even in some cases the thousands. We're able to mark all of those, feed them back, and generate an automatic print file and release that right back into the environment. Or we have make-ready stations where if we drop out 2 or 3 pieces, we're able to scan in those barcodes, make them ready, validate them, ensure the integrity of that package, and then put it back into the mail stream. All of that is flowed back, balanced, reconciled, and then the job is closed. So this brings us through pretty much the whole workflow of how it works today. This is in action, this is running, and now I'll take you to the results. We'll go through on these results what our achievements, what we think our achievements are, where we're at today, what some benefits and successes that we've had, the lessons learned, because everything you do, there are lessons you learned and things you may do differently going forward. But also, I think the major thing that is the future opportunities and what this has opened up to us as a company, and going forward, how this is going to help build us into a stronger entity. Right off the bat, we improved our document integrity, driving those 6 Sigma quality levels and measuring our process improvement. So we're actually able to ensure the integrity of the document going out, but we're also able to look back and say, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? How can we improve ourselves? Because we've really tried to adapt this concept of continuous improvement. We have automated our processes from our processing all the way through down to the mail piece, and taken out all of the areas for human intervention, short of, excuse me, loading machines, and making sure that our machines run and running the service on the machine. Some of the items that were would take us into areas that caused problems or failures were eliminated. We integrated the entire system with Canon inkjet presses, Bell and Howell, and Blue Crest inserters. We brought in as I mentioned, our homegrown Opals billing system, as well as integrating Prisma production. So we're able to build this best of breed concept. And if the next product that comes out is whatever that is that we need, we feel that based on the ability to have this component-based technology, that we can bring this into our workflow and we don't have to start over again. We are today managing all 3 sites from a single dashboard. We are running big jobs across all 3 facilities. During the COVID situation, we're able to move work back and forth between facilities seamlessly, as long as the supplies and materials were in those locations. We ensuring that operators are following those procedures, following those modes, following those tickets, and so that we know that the product is going to come out of the machinery correctly. We've eliminated a lot of dependency on the tribal knowledge, right? So the operator, which there is a resistance, because why are you taking my job away? We're really not. What we're trying to do is provide consistency, focus in on the quality of the physical product coming out of the machine, the setups and the modes and all the other items that are really not, can be controlled by the system, are being controlled and cataloged by the system. Client onboarding has become easier because we now know the process from beginning to end. Once all of the procedures are stripped right into our application, fed right in, so we know that's going to flow right through our organization from beginning to end. There is testing and onboarding, but we've minimized the back and forth process. We have completely automated our reprint process, which has dramatically improved time on completing jobs, reconciliation, and we're using the best of breed, right? So it's not one method or the other. We're using both methods, both a touch and toss and a make right scenario. And then finally, we're able to really measure and get the data out of the systems to measure our operators and device performance. Where are we performing? Where are we failing? Yes, our machines may have been up 99% of the time, but why did we have failure? And let's look at that 1%. As mentioned, 3 sites in production. New York and our Florida site are fully managed, and every piece of work that runs in and out of those facilities is running through the ProConductor system. Our New Jersey operation is a different animal. Has a lot of smaller jobs, and where we've seen tremendous value in this system is the ability to consolidate smaller work and bring it into a larger environment, so that we're not stopping and starting those machines every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes. So we put a lot of effort in trying to bring this consolidation process to play and take advantage of the system and what it does provide to us. Everything that we do today is developed with the workflow, and so it's all bound at the application level. From the minute our customer transmits the file in and approves it, it's fed all the way through to the mail piece. We've used Crawford Tech transforms, and we've re-engineered all of our MRDF files, and we're doing all of this in a single pass. So we're not passing over and over and over again through these files, so we're not adding time into our processing environment. Just examples of success. One job we run, it's a quarterly job. We run 850,000 pieces of mail. We do this in about 3 days. We spread this across our 3 facilities, and we do this seamlessly, balance it seamlessly across the 3 facilities. As a matter of fact, as we start the job, if one facility is not performing, we're able to move other work and rebalance that load as we're running the job. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that one of the biggest benefits of this workflow has been the ability to take smaller jobs, consolidate them, and get the validation and reconciliation to ensure integrity of the mail pieces. Move that away from our hand assembly. The 1, the 2, the 3-piece mailings that go with the 850,000 piece mailings, but you have to do it all for the customer, has allowed us to bring that all together into one common stream. As I've mentioned, we've improved our efficiency, dramatically improved the control over our operations. We have visibility into what's being done on a day-by-day basis. We are driving that Six Sigma integrity, where we have this deployed today, and will be deployed 100% in our company very shortly. One of the biggest items that we've seen a monetary improvement in is our job rejection rate has been reduced by almost 200%. So in many cases where we would have reclaimed postage because we had detected errors in the job and we couldn't find the imbalance, we've eliminated that for all intensive purposes. So we're no longer paying 20% to the post office on those rejection fees uh, as we're able to eliminate that. We've automated the feed into our billing system. Again, eliminating manual parts of our business that take time and improve our time to get the bill to the customer. Taking those legacy systems, which had always haunted us, to say, how do we get today's technology into those legacy systems that have been running for 30 years? How do we take advantage of moving them off of 309 code and into 2D code? Or improving the algorithm that, 20 years ago we were using a different algorithm for integrity on the machine, but now we have a lot more checkpoints. This allowed us to do that without opening up all of those applications. I can't emphasize the value of this, as that would have taken this process on and on forever and ever. Inline finishing, or the dynamic perfing and things of this nature are all controlled through our workflow, and it becomes seamless in all three locations. Definitely improving the way that we're able to drive those print files down to those printers. Load balancing, as I've mentioned, for both our printers and inserters, so we can see where things are running, how they're running, where we're getting the best value of running that operation. I mean, most recently, we just converted a job that last year ran 7 days in one facility. We were able to take that job, run it through our workflow, consolidate a lot of the files together, and we ran that job in 36 hours. That's a dramatic improvement in time to complete that, making it more efficient. And reducing customer audits. How often does a customer come, wants to know what's going on, look at the integrity of the mail piece, what are you using to balance, providing all this data at their fingertips so that they can go through and see to the operator at what time it was inserted by the machine, what time it was printed, all of this information being captured and provided just really makes the audit process go much faster. The lessons we've learned, this did absolutely morph into a bigger project. I think when we started, we talked about a 90-day deployment, and it's gone on much longer than that. Not for anybody's reason of not delivering. It's just that it's grown itself in legs based on the ability and the best of breed that has been brought to us by our partners. Operators probably should have been involved more in our rollout. Instead of rejecting the technology, they would have adopted it. So and understanding in detail. So understanding that operator interaction is a very important part, and probably should be done with a greater degree of integrity, or not integrity, or inspection. Re-engineering the work. What do we want to accomplish? Bringing it to the next level. We started to do that as we started to see the ability. At this point, I would have done that at the beginning and fixed many of the weak processes right at the start instead of during the process. Acceptance to eliminate current reconciliation processes. This is a faith issue. That, yes, this system really does work, and yes, this system can do the reconciliation process, and it's okay to eliminate those manual logs and depend upon the data that's being captured by the machines. And then, the biggest lesson that we learned is don't assume that you really know how it works. I mean, over time, things change, and they change not because anybody is doing anything wrong, it's that they're trying to service the customer. So really understanding that process and doing that examination does help and will streamline the deployment in the future. Where we're looking to grow and do more with this system is a consolidation of jobs and just building on the efficiency of our processing, running the printers, running the inserters for longer runs, so we don't have to start and stop. Definitely, we brought access to because we're able to bring our entire environment, our entire enterprise into our prospective customers. We can handle more work, more print and mailing opportunities, so we can actually feed those machines that we made the investment on. We've reduced our time to onboard. We feel confident the testing has been reduced. the time frame for testing, because we're able to track it. We're able to provide all of those metrics to be evaluated by our customer to get that customer sign off. Expediting training, operator training, because again, we've taken a lot of that intellectual property and we've cataloged it. We're limiting the amount of training that is required to print the job. Focus more on the quality of what's coming out of the machine, less about how it's being put into the machine. We believe that we can expand our enterprise because we've built a solid workflow that can be deployed in facility after facility, and this will only allow us to grow our enterprise at faster rates. And then one of the biggest opportunities that we see is to really build on the lean manufacturing initiatives, to look back at how we're doing things and constant methods of improvement and how we can do things better, getting that data, evaluating that data, and then driving to a better process across the board. Summary, adapting the workflow, and for those ING members that are on, or if they're not, I've said this numerous times, this is a philosophy. That you're accepting a change to your culture in the way you work, and many of us have discussed it, and I think it's a general consensus that these type of workflows are an adoption, as are lean manufacturing, Six Sigma, all areas we have to drive to. As I've mentioned throughout this entire presentation, the implementation has made dramatic improvements in our efficiency, in the ability to handle work, process work, and balance it, and make sure that it's done accurately, correctly, and on time. We've transformed our operations, and we've moved them from being, a print and mail company, but really a process and mail company today, with the ability to streamline and get end-to-end management of the process in an automated fashion. We've driven those Six Sigma goals of integrity, and we believe we'll continue to drive even better than the Six Sigma standard. We've moved our dependency on that tribal information, cataloged it so that we can repeat it over and over again. Additionally, if we have issues, we can tie them directly back to what those problems are on our systems. Multi-site visibility has allowed us to both load balance as well as have contingency operations that are workable and deployable and ready and active. We've integrated with our pre-existing technology and leveraged that, and leveraged the best of breed, what we believe the best of breed solution. And I think the biggest item is the support we've received from Crawford, Bluecrest, and Canon. The endless numbers of hours, best of breed suggestions from the engineers in these companies have really made us better. I mean, how often do we think we always do the things the best? But to be able to work with these teams and learn from them and deploy these solutions have really raised our level of operation. So with that said, as I said, I'm pretty good at just talking to nobody, talking to people, but people don't respond. If anybody has any questions, that is the conclusion of my presentation. I haven't even been following the time, but I guess it's
you're actually really good, John. This is perfect, and we do have a lot of questions, so people have been listening. Okay, let me get you the first one. So, is there a method to process a one-off job or ad hoc jobs in this system?
Okay, so that's a great question. So most recently, we've started to develop that. We've had to build some standards around that one ad hoc processing, but the answer is yes. We have to evaluate to what level we're driving that into our workflow. But yes, but you do have to deploy those standards when you put it into the workflow.
Okay. We have another question. Do you run roll to roll or roll to cut on the new inserters?
Okay, so we roll to roll. We also run roll to cut. So our based on the job, the way it's set up, and the estimating that's come in, we determine which way it's going to go, and that will drive all the way down to the print ticket, which drives to how that's going to be finished. But we do run both modes in this workflow, as well as we run roll to roll, roll to sheet, and we run sheet fed as well.
Okay. And then also, what company provided ProConductor?
ProConductor is a Crawford product.
Thank you. And you mentioned reduced testing time due to tracking. What type of testing tasks, activity cycles have been reduced due to the new workflow tracking?
The ability to actually run it from beginning to end through our testing process, capture the metrics, evaluate them, know exactly where if there's any failure, and a lot of that is done before it even gets out to the machines. So the validation of the MRDF and all of the information is being flowed through. We're capturing all of that information before it actually has to print. Then the validation of print and insertion, but all of the setup parameters that we know are going to drive an accurate product are done in advance through the systems, and we're able to do that without waiting for a window to actually test and on the true production floor.
Okay. Wondering how long it took you to get to the point where you are today from inception.
So to point to where we are today, and again, a lot of this is, as we changed direction a little bit. It's been about 2 years from the point where we really started the examination process, the building, the deployment, the testing. About 2 years.
Okay. Let's see.
And I want to just put a frame around that, just to give you a sense of the number of applications. We've converted almost 2,000 applications.
Excellent. Okay, got another one. What do you think is the greatest contribution the workflow has provided to the organization?
So there's more than one. If you ask me today, the ability to run larger jobs, the value of the integrity and to flow through our systems and move work from facility to facility seamlessly. I can't mention how many times in the past we tried to move jobs from from facility A to facility B, and the setup wasn't there. Or, once you got the print set up, then the mode wasn't on the inserter, or the operators didn't know how to run the job. So that has been tremendous in its value. Additionally, the ability to consolidate work and bring it together really is just tremendous value.
Excellent. Okay, they're still coming in. We still have a couple of minutes. So you mentioned multiple site capability. Is that distributed printing or routing an entire job to one location or another?
Okay, so what we do on our processing side, we'll break that down into segments. So, for example, we just ran a 850,000 piece job. We'll break that into 20,000 piece segments, and then based on the volume of where that facility is, how they're producing, we'll move that segment into that facility as we're running the job. We can break that down by location if we wanted to, but the ability is there to move it in its job. So what we've decided to do is break the job into pieces or components, and then we move those components as a whole from facility to facility, so that we have an all-in reconciliation process.
Okay. And it looks like we have one more question. So how did Content Critical overcome staff fear of job eliminations as you navigated through your journey?
So we were fortunate to grow our business. During this process, we were able to, our growth was growing. So in reality, instead of bringing on new people, so to speak, we were able to deploy that work to our workforce and to be able to absorb that, a lot of it, with our existing workforce. And I think that, yes, there's an initial fear that I'm going to lose my job, and you have to overcome that. And we've actually had conversations with folks and said, look, if your job is going away, we're not going to get rid of you. We're going to train you into a different area of the business because we're growing. I think that the valuable statement here is the workflow has really allowed us to accelerate our growth. So there's hopefully, and once this whole thing around us is all over with, we get back on that fast track of growth.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we hope that for everyone. Okay, I think we're going to end it now. I don't have any other questions that have come through. John.